Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and today I want to talk to you about how if you want to be a success in life, you must grow up and stop thinking childishly. In 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 11, it says, "When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things." And in today's world, that last part, becoming a man and putting away childish things, is not happening. There are grown men with families and responsibilities that spend hours a day playing video games, hours a day scrolling social media, hours a day reading sports trivia and sport news. These are childish things. I remember growing up as a kid, I loved sports, I loved playing sports, I loved watching sports, I loved talking about sports. But as I matured and got to be an adult, I realized how foolish it was. I want to watch grown men play children's games for money. I'm not even actively participating in it. And I want to take some sort of glory from other men's activities and act like I won a championship because they won it. It's so childish and infantile and stupid that it became repugnant to me. Even though years earlier, as a child, it seemed perfectly reasonable. Many people are in that state of arrested development. They're not growing, they're not maturing. Their mind is that of a child. And some people even have so foolishly and wickedly tried to twist Jesus' words about you must come to the kingdom as a child, as if being immature, being foolish, being stupid, not having a man's mentality about life is somehow what Jesus is teaching there, which is ridiculous and insane. And of course, this verse in 1 Corinthians is not criticizing children. It's just making a plain statement that children are not mature. They're children. A child should live a life of a child. A child should not be living like a man because they're not a man. They're a child. But a man also, conversely, should not be living like a child. There are men who create quote-unquote man caves for themselves because they're so emasculated, so weak, so powerless, and so childish that they have to go hide in a corner somewhere and call it a man cave because the house they live in and pay for, they have no rule over. They're not the man of the house. They don't have any authority, and they shouldn't. Understand, I'm not criticizing the woman here. They shouldn't. These men are childish. They don't think like men. So the woman, unfortunately, has to take up the slack. She has to be the mother and the father in that relationship and basically treat her husband like a child because he acts like a child. He thinks like a child. He doesn't have the character and the mentality to lead the house. And so she, against her will, has to do it. And she has to put his little childish and infantile stuff over in the corner or in the garage or somewhere else because it's stupid and it's childish and it's infantile and it's embarrassing and shameful to her. But he thinks it's being a man. Oh, I gotta watch my sports and drink my beer. That's not being a man. You have responsibilities. You should have accomplishments and achievements in life. Not playing video games. Not, I watched the Super Bowl. I watched the latest sporting event. Who cares? You think in 20 years you're going to care that you watched some sporting event or that you played that latest video game? This life is so short and there's so much to do, so much to accomplish, so much you can experience and live, and people choose instead to never grow up, to never renew their mind, to never have any kind of manlyhood, never have any kind of masculinity about themselves. Just live like children. Force their wife into the unenviable situation of having to be a mother to him because he never grew up. I've heard of grown men who are married with children and their mommy still comes over and washes their clothing for them and does like they're an infant. Listen, my friend, especially if you're a man watching this, I know this is hard, but you have to grow up. It's not honoring to God. You're not some good Christian, some holy man, some man of God. If you're doing all these infantile things, if you never give up the ways of a child and you put away childish things, you're not a man of God. I don't care what you say. There are pastors morbidly obese, babbling from the pulpits about the sporting team they like and the new movie they just watched. It's embarrassing. It's shameful. Some of these people are elderly and they're still talking and speaking and thinking and understanding as a child. And it should never be said of a believer. You should have a renewed mind, a resolute mind, a mind that is stoic in many ways. Not a mind that's always living for pleasure, always living for some sort of entertainment, always living for the world. And if you question what I'm saying, you think I'm being too hard, you think maybe I'm incorrect, or, well, what about relaxation? Go to the Lord in the Spirit, pray, and seek His wisdom. Ask Him, is this correct or not? Because I guarantee if you'll do that, and many of you won't because you know the answer you're going to get. You know what I'm saying is true, and you don't want the truth because you want to keep living like a kid. You want to keep being immature. You want to keep doing all the childish things you've been doing since you were a teenager and you've never given up. But if you want to take that next level, you want to be that success in life, you want to be that person who is overcoming in life and victorious in life, you're going to have to renew your mind. And part of that is going to include giving up the childish way of thinking, giving up those childish allegiances to sporting events and sports teams and playing video games, all this entertainment. It's understandable when a child goes for those things because they don't have anything really to do. They don't have responsibilities, and they shouldn't. They shouldn't have very many responsibilities. They're children. They should grow up and be able to be a child. But you need to rise above that. You need to realize your life is not lived just for pleasure. The scripture says, she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. That kind of hedonistic, pleasure-seeking mentality. Oh, you may say, well, I don't commit adultery. I don't do this. It doesn't matter. Sure, you don't do these things that are plainly vices that everybody would be against, but you do a lot of the things that people accept. Just because they're accepted doesn't make them right. And if you look at our culture today, it accepts a lot of garbage, a lot of stuff that is plain degeneracy, plainly sinful, plainly of the devil. Are you going to start doing that stuff too? Because, well, everybody accepts it. Or are you going to be a man of character, a man resolute in his understanding of the world and understanding of the things of God, and walking as a man of God, not thinking childishly, but thinking the things that God would think, thinking in a way that God would think, speaking in the way that God would speak, understanding in the way that God would understand, and decreeing those things that you want, which would have nothing to do with your sports team or some video game or some social media nonsense, but it have to do with serious things, things of importance, both eternal and temporal. There are things in this temporal life that you need to accomplish and you need to achieve. And you can't do that if you're living like a child. And you can't do that if you don't put away childish things. So my friend, I'm going to encourage you today. Go to the Lord in prayer. Don't just take my word for it, although my word is accurate and it's 100% correct by the Spirit of God. But go to the Lord in prayer, sincerely asking Him. And this is vitally important. When you get the answer, confirming what I'm saying, make those changes today. Put away childish things. If that means throwing away your video game console, do it. If that means canceling some sports channel or subscription or something, cancel it. Become a man of character and substance. Stop thinking like a child. Start thinking and speaking and understanding like God. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.